Court will come to order.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy C. Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
The invocation this morning is going to be delivered by Pastor Steve Solomon from the Riverwalk Fellowship Church in Haltom City. Steve, welcome. Thank you. You'll please remain standing after the invocation for our pledges.
It's a wonderful thing to be here today. It's a microcosm of what our founding fathers did 235 years ago. Dwight Eisenhower said, if America is one man leading 184 million people at that time, then America is not America anymore. It's a government of not of one great leader or a few, but a government of the people, for the people, by the people. And this is a tremendous microcosm of the sovereign God's great experiment in this nation called the United States of America, where ordinary people come together. We have champions in the room. We have heroes from the war in the room. We have people from all walks of life here today. And what a privilege it is that in a seat of government like Tarrant County, we would have the privilege of opening with prayer and calling upon God. Can anyone say amen? Amen. Father, we need help in this country today. We need help in Texas today. We need help from drought. We need help from calamity. We need help. We sense in our hearts that things aren't exactly right, but when we come together as ordinary people in a room like this, we sense there's great hope for the future. You said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, turn from their wicked ways and pray, then you would hear from heaven and heal our land. Oh God, thank you for this Commissioner's Court. Thank you for these men that you've chosen by your sovereign will to lead and guide us in Tarrant County. We thank you, God, for all those that are here today. May your blessings, may your peace, may your glory be upon this county, this state, and this nation. In Jesus' name, amen and amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Pastor Solomon, for being here today. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Honor. Members of the Court, we have one announcement as it relates to the agenda this morning. This will be an item under purchasing, item 9H18. This concerns the EMC, Networker, and Evamar Software and Maintenance and Support Services. We're going to ask that we hold that for 2 weeks. And that is a consent item. We'll pull that off. Hold for 2 weeks. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I might also mention that, excuse me, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this when I was up here. Next week we are not going to have Commissioner's Court. Our next court meeting will be July 26th.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of June the 28th.
Move approval.
Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Wynn, motion passes unanimously. Well, we have several folks to recognize today. In addition to our normal first Tuesday, which this month is the second Tuesday, our employees that are going to be celebrating their anniversaries. And I want to begin by recognizing a couple of folks who, as a result of my years serving as NACO president, I had the opportunity to give 2 scholarships to folks from within the county. And for the first time, what we did is we set up a committee and of folks within the county to evaluate the applications that came in.
and I decided that I wanted to give them to children of county employees. And so we had folks submit the applications, and we had 2 scholarships, and the first scholarship winner that I want to recognize today is Shannon McMillan. Shannon, stand up. Shannon's the daughter of Lisa McMillan, and she is the winner of our CH2M Hill scholarship, which is a $1,500 a year scholarship for 4 years. And Shannon, we want to congratulate you on that. Shannon and her family will actually be going to Portland and will receive the scholarship award at our Sunday general session. So, Shannon, we look forward to seeing you there, and again, congratulations. Our other scholarship was won by Jacob Gibson. Jacob, stand up. His dad is Andrew, and he works in our sheriff's department. He is the winner of the Dave Davenport Scholarship, which is a $2,500 a year for 4-year scholarship, and Jacob attends high school at Carter Riverside. Shannon is at Trinity High School out in the HEB area. Jacob and his family also will be traveling to Portland, and will be there Sunday morning when we give out those scholarships. So, Jacob, congratulations.
I know Shannon intends to be an Aggie. Jacob, what are your plans? UTA. Great.
All right, yes.
Yeah, I kind of kidded Shannon that I didn't realize before they picked that she was planning on going to A&M. But that I should have known better with her mother. Yeah. Of course, at the time, we didn't even know that it was her mother, or that Lisa was her mother. At this time, I want to recognize, we have a resolution from Commissioner Wynn, and if I can find it, would you like for me to read that into the record?
If you don't mind, sir.
I thought I would, since some of these names on here rival some of my names on my...
Before you do that, may I introduce a
Yes,
person?
go right ahead. Yes, we have another guest that Commissioner Wynn wants to introduce.
Judge and fellow commissioners, we all have heard of a saying that we often take it as more or less like a cliche. Freedom is not free. And we have an American hero who is our special guest this morning. He defended our freedom for years. And in 1995, Captain O'Grady flew an F-16 that was built right here in Fort Worth. And it was shot down by the enemy, and he spent 6 days on the ground evading the captivity, enemy capture, and he eventually was rescued. And Captain O'Grady, can you please come forward and
quickly tell you I'm very pleased as an Air Force veteran and a former F-16 fighter pilot to be here in Fort Worth, where this is the home of the F-16, where you build the F-16. It was a pleasure to be able to fly that aircraft for over 9 years. I have over 1,300 flying hours in the F-16. And to give you a quick little fun story, I just filled out some financial paperwork. For one of the security questions, they asked, what would be your dream job? And I looked at the question, I said, I already had it. So it's an honor to be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Judge, would you please read the resolution into record, please?
Kennedale High School Wildcat baseball team. Whereas since its inception in 1989, the goal of the Kennedale baseball team has been to win a state championship, and it proudly carries the motto, character, honor, and tradition. And whereas, although the Wildcats had made it into the playoffs for 16 straight years, when they began the 2011 season, they were perceived as underdogs in their own district. And whereas the character of this team was shown early and often, as they played several games without key players, resulting in an 8-4-1 record, with the 4 losses being one-run games. And whereas, due to their tremendous character, the team overcame these heartbreaking losses, achieving a perfect 20-0 record from March 14th until May the 20th, while defeating 3 number 1 ranked teams in this time period. And whereas during their playoff run, Kennedale beat Abilene Wiley, swept Bridgeport, took a 3-game series against Andrews, and defeated Brownwood to reach the state tournament, where they beat Robstown and Waco Robinson. And whereas the 2011 Kennedale Wildcat baseball team players are Jimmy Norris, Justin, I told you this was
Jacobson?
Jacob Eisen.
That's it. I knew you could get it. Zach Holly, Jay Thomas, Taylor Sublett, Austin Hunt, Zach Mishner, Casey Colthorpe, Cameron Massengale, Hayden Elrod, Hayden Millis, Justin Braswell, Jordan Braswell, Brent Taylor, Cole Thompson, Clint Crabtree, Ryan Chegweden, or close to that, Brent Hutt, Kevin Marshall, Nick Williams, Josh Taylor, Corey Taylor, Clint Fish, and Brennan Cogburn. And whereas the coaches are Jet Teague, Paul Thrantham, Richard Earl, and Jay Beck, and statisticians are Sammy Greener, Casey Thibodeau, Courtney. You guys just don't know what you do to me.
Doing good, Judge.
Thanks, Judge. I really appreciate that. Courtney Darville, Laura Burrows, Mackenzie McMahon, and the bat boy is Morgan Earl. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby commend the 2011 Kennedale Wildcat baseball team for winning the first 3A state championship. In witness whereof, we've heretofore set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 12th day of July, 2011. Y'all come on down. I think they want some pictures.
And, Coach.
Sorry about that, Justin.
Coach, congratulations.
Okay, y'all all smile at the cameras.
This is Coach Jet Teague. Jet, J-E-T. Jet Holly over there.
We've got a theme for the day.
Would you like to make a few words?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you very much, Commissioner Ford. We really appreciate it. It's an honor to be selected to get a resolution here in Tarrant County. Thank you all very, very much. So it's very, you all made us feel very welcome, very much at home here. And we really appreciate it. But these are the young men that we really want to honor. Thank you all very much for everything. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
I move for the approval of the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, or please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Yeah, they did pretty good with those 4 players.
Yeah, I'll take it.
And the bat boy.
Now we come to to our employee recognition, and again, this is one of my favorite times of the It'll be even more favored, there they are. I should say, it'll be even more favored if I've got all the employees in here that I'm supposed to have, and I do. We're going to begin with our 5-year employees. When I call your name or something that sounds like your name, stand up and remain standing until I get to the end of that particular group, and we'll give you a round of applause, which is small thanks for the tremendous amount of work that each one of you do to help serve the citizens of our county. And I know many of you, as I've talked with many of you, how much pride you take in that. So we're going to begin with our 5-year employees. Our first is Deborah Barber, CSCD. Cody Bell, Sheriff Confinement. Rhonda Blackwell, Sheriff Confinement. Ron. Adam Colbert, Juvenile Services. Marvin Jackson, Sheriff Confinement. Jacqueline Kowina, District Clerk. Antoinette Lancaster, Sheriff Booking. Sharon Liggins, CSCD. Shelley Merciley, District Attorney's Office. Paul Miller, Facilities Management. Terry Lynn Miller, Sheriff Booking. Michael Morris, Sheriff South Patrol. Nathan Peters, Facilities Management. Dana Rowe, Tax Office. Jane Scribner, District Attorney's Office. Mariana Sherwood, District Attorney's Office. Julia Sladek, District Attorney's Office. Tawan Tree, Sheriff Booking. Let's give these 5-year employees a hand. Now for our 10-year employees. Niaviz Aguirre, Juvenile Services. Bridget Gentry, Public Health. Leslie Johnston, 233rd District Court. Claudia Lopez, Public Health. Sandra Ortiz Coronado, District Attorney's Office. Brett Pohosky, Facilities Management. Mark Thomas, Precinct 1 Maintenance. Charles Tucker, Facilities Management. Tracy Wood, County Court at Law Number 1. Let's give these 10-year employees a hand. Now for our 15-year employees. Arnold Holmes, Constable, Precinct 8. Marinelle Joyner, District Clerk. Diane Lee, Public Health. George Tabor, Precinct 1 Maintenance. Matt Ward, Precinct 2 Maintenance. Let's give these 15-year employees a hand. Now for our 20-plus year employees, I call each one of them and talk with them a little bit, and then give them a chance to stand as we go over some of their highlights of their time here with Tarrant County. Our first 20-year employee this month is Amy Farrell with the Sheriff's Department. Where's Amy? There she is, back in the back. Started off in the Sheriff's Office in the confinement in the Cold Springs area, then was on the midnight shift at Belknap for a while, moved into the judicial area, actually served over in patrol and investigation and IAD before she moved back to the jail as a captain, and is now the Chief Deputy in Judicial Services. When I asked her about the more memorable moment, one of her more memorable moments with the county, she said it's when the county came together for her son Sheldon when he was ill. And I remember that. I was commissioner at that point in time, and the county really did kind of close ranks, I think, and help her and her family through that time. She said, what I like most about the county is the family feeling, the fact that there's something different every day, and that she just absolutely loves the people that she's had a chance to work with and to work around while she's been with the county. She said she truly loved the county, that she had seen a lot of people who've worked here, and that she's sent a lot of people to work here. She said, you know, wherever I go, I tell people, you ought to go to work for the county, that it is really a great place to work. And she said, there's a whole lot of folks that I have persuaded to come down and to apply and are now working for the county. When I asked her if there was anything else, she said, I again want to thank everyone for what everyone did for her son. And Sheldon's doing his own thing now. And we're so happy for that. Amy, we very, very much appreciate the 20 years of service you've given to us. Next is Cheryl Lopez with the 325th District Court. Cheryl started off as court coordinator for Judge Mary Shawn O'Reilly, and served there. And then when Judge Wells came into that court, she's been serving as the court coordinator for Judge Wells since that time. When I asked her about the more memorable moments that she could think back over, really without too much hesitation, she said, you know, it's the adoptions that we see come through the court. And I asked her, I said, well, are you talking about the National Adoption Day, which we have done and who many of y'all have been a part of and support? She says, well, but she said, we do a lot of those in our courts anyway. And she says, to see the smiles on those parents' faces and on the faces of those children when that happens really, really touches my heart, and has touched my heart throughout the time that I've been with the court. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, you know, really, her court family was almost like a second family to her. And that, you know, they were always very close. But for that matter, the whole county really takes care of one another and takes care of its own. And you know, I know you hear that, and I know those folks who come and who are here on a regular basis, and I think it can almost become cliche at times, but I can't tell you how much it means to folks as I have that conversation with them, and as I hear them express what county folks have meant to them, and how important and how much of a family we really are here. When I asked her if there was anything else, she said, well, I hope I can go another 20 years. I tell you what, Cheryl, we hope you go another 20 years too, and thank you very much for the time you've given. Next is Mike McElvain with Juvenile Services, 20 years. Okay, Mike may not have been able to make it. He was going to try to make it down here. He said he started out, it's the only job he's ever had, was as a detention officer for 2 years. He's, I guess, now out at the Northwest location. He says he looks out at the new Taj Mahal that Commissioner Johnson has. He says it's a very nice facility, and it's been a long time in coming.
Yes, it is.
When I asked him about, again, the more memorable moments, he said it's the changes that have occurred over the years. He said it's the expansion of the department. But he also said it was going from a situation and kind of a theory of we're just going to lock them up to a we're going to work with them, and we're really going to try to make a difference in these young folks' lives as they go forward, and we're really going to try to get them on the right track. He said time had flown by. I asked him, I said, how did you first come to know about Tarrant County? He said, you know, I was a TCU student, and Jerry Wood was teaching classes over there. And Jerry, as a part of his class, brought folks over here to give them a tour. And he said, I can't tell you how many people came to work for Tarrant County Juvenile Services as a result of, again, one of our folks going that extra mile to help folks and to teach folks and to hopefully, kind of show them what the county way was all about. So as you see Mike, congratulate him over his 20 years of service, and let's give him a round of applause. Now, the next person on our agenda is James Miller, who has been with the Sheriff's Department for 20 years, but he wasn't able to make it today. He works the midnight shift and wasn't going to be able to make it down. So as you see James, also congratulate him. Next is Eileen Ward, who's with the tax office, spent 20 years, there she is. Started off in the mortgage department, then moved over to current billing, and now is in the refund department. Thought it would be the fund department. You get to give the money back to them. And I'm sure they appreciate that. She said the memorable moments for her was when the tornado came through town. As well, and again, she said, it's a shame that this one has to be one of the memories, but it was the shooting that occurred across the street. And she said, that was it was a tragic day. When I asked her what she liked most, she said, I really love the job. I love the people that I've had a chance to work with. She said, I've worked for 3 different tax assessor collectors. The latest with the bow tie and the seersucker suit back there. I see, see, the ghost is even talking to you over here. We'll all have to have our little bow ties days.
Is that Mr. Peppermint?
Mr. Peppermint, yes, that's who I was thinking about. Eileen, well, I'm sorry to take away from your recognition, but the light was blinding from back there. When I asked her, I said, anything? She says, the time has gone by pretty quick. And Eileen, we appreciate very, very much the 20 years that you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Earl Horton, 25 years, the Sheriff's Department. Earl was not going to be able to make it today. He had a doctor's appointment that he had to go to. So, again, drop Earl a note, give him a call, thank him for the 25 years of service that he's given to Tarrant County. Next is Mac McDaniel from the Sheriff's Department in North Patrol. Been there for 25 years. Started off in the Belknap jail and then was in the patrol area. Was back in the jail and I guess served on the SWAT team, I believe, for a while. Then was in the courts, and now he is in the LEAP area. Now you think, okay, what's the LEAP area? Well, that's the livestock exchange area. And that's the ones that get to go out and chase whatever gets loose. And sometimes strange things get loose. When I asked him about it, one of his more memorable ones, he said it was chasing an emu all around for about 30 minutes. And then he said there was another time when a cow got loose on the parking lot. And he said, okay, they had devised this system. They were going to build this pen, and they were going to get it, and then they were going to herd the cow into the... And all the time they were doing this, the cow kept walking up to them and nudging them in the back or bothering them, and they were shooing it away. And finally, Max said, wait a minute, let's try something. He opened the gate to the trailer, and the cow just walked on up. And it was all done. So, again, you never know quite what to expect when you're messing with these animals that get loose. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, without a question, it was the people and the friends that he'd made over the time that he'd been here. He said it was, the county is a good, steady job, but it's an opportunity to serve the public and to really get some pride out of what you do. When I asked him if there's anything else, he said, I'm just grateful that I've had a chance to work for Tarrant County. And Mac, I'm going to tell you, we're grateful that you've been here, and we thank you for the 25 years you've given us. Next is Frank Sirhendry, Sheriff Confinement. Been there for 25 years. I've talked with a lot of folks, but I guess in the course of the conversation, I never really connected some of this stuff. He started out in the Belknap, the new side of Belknap, And he said at the time he started out, there were over 5,000 prisoners.
Wow.
Now, folks, we have between 3,400 and 3,500 right now. But that was before we added the correction center. So he said they were all over everybody down there. He said from there he went over to the Cold Springs area, went out to Green Bay, and then the correction center. When I asked him about some of the more memorable moments, again, when he started out, he said if we were when he was over at Cold Springs, he said when we were communicating, if someone kind of got in trouble, they used whistles. They didn't have the intercoms, and they used whistles to just let folks know that they were in trouble. He also mentioned, he said one of the saddest moments, and it's really one of the saddest moments in the county's history, was the helicopter crash. And that was a particularly tough time for the county. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, I really enjoy working with the inmates. And he said, if you just treat them with respect, a lot of times they'll react and react the same way. And I appreciate you saying that, Mac, and I appreciate you doing that. He really enjoys helping people. He said he's worked with some great people on the staff and in the jail over the years, and that it's something that he'll remember for a lifetime. Frank, we appreciate very much the 25 years you've given us. Thank you very much. Next is Lydia Medina, tax office, 30 years. Started out in the motor vehicles, and is still there. Moved into the administration building, I guess, right after you got here. They were in the old courthouse, and they moved over here into the administration building. Now, she's seen 4 different ones before Mr. Peppermint here got. Ron will get me. He'll get me for this one sooner or later.
What color are those shoes he's got?
I don't know what kind those shoes are he's got on there, but they're hard to polish, I'm sure.
Oxfords.
She said in the beginning there was a lot of typing to be done, and she said, now I don't think I could even find a typewriter in that place. When I asked her what she liked most, she said without pause, without hesitation, it was the supervisors and the employees that she's had a chance to work with over the 30 years that she's been here. She said, her husband retired 2 years ago and is enjoying retirement, but she said, I hadn't gotten that urge yet, and I tell you one thing, we sure hope you don't get that urge for a couple of more years, or for many more years for that matter. Lydia, thank you very much for the 30 years of service. Next is, it says Doug, but it's Butch Truby. Precinct 3 maintenance, 30 years. Started out in Precinct 3 and has been there the whole time. Obviously, when I was commissioner, I got to know Butch. Started out as an operator 1 and worked his way up, and he's now a supervisor. When I asked him about a more memorable moment, he said he was lucky enough to play a part in the construction of some pretty major roads. And if you really stop and think about what's happened out in northeast Tarrant County over the last 30 years, there's been an awful lot happen. And to have been a part of that, I know has had to have been exciting, and I can, just from speaking and from knowing Butch, know that he has done a great job in everything that he's done from Operator 1 all the way up to where he is today. He said he's made some lifelong friends, has been influenced by a lot of folks. His time with the county, he and Vicki got to know one another and are now husband and wife, and loves working outside, absolutely loves being with people and being able to work with folks. I personally, I remember when Judge Gallagher married the two of them here in the courtroom, and I can always count on Butch to be one of those folks who, when you start out as an operator 1 and you work up through the ranks, sometimes it's hard to make that transition from one of the guys to, okay, now I got to supervise these same folks that I've worked with. And Butch was never bashful about telling somebody when they did a good job, but he was equally not bashful about telling them when they need to do a little bit better job. And I'm going to tell you, Butch is one of the valued employees of Tarrant County, and I know of Precinct 3, and we appreciate very much the 30 years of service you've given us, Butch. And I believe that that's it. That is it. I thought I had one more down there, but I don't. That's a total of 490 years of service. And again, folks, you are what make this county as great a place to work and live and to raise a family in as it is. And I cannot thank you, we cannot thank you enough for everything you do. We've got refreshments in 504C back here, and we'll recess for just a short moment while y'all head that direction. Thank y'all. Thank you.
We're full today.
Court members, you have before you the consent agenda, and please remember that we are eliminating item
9H18. Move approval, save and accept 9H18.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mannion.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have 4 additional items for you this morning. Item number 1, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an interlocal agreement between Tarrant County and the City of Fort Worth as it relates to the Trinity River Vision Bridge project.
Move approval.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I might want to make a comment on that project that we just voted on. There's some interesting statistics about that development. As you know, it's both a water project and an economic development project. The TIF itself was created in 2003, and we started collecting revenues off that. Since that time, the amount that was given to the county as part of the TIF has been approximately $500,000. The hospital district has received almost $900,000. More importantly, Fort Worth Independent School District, because of that particular project, has received over $12 million in additional revenue for the children of this community. So it's a good, strong project, and it's one where our monies have been invested wisely. Members of the court, if we could go to item number 2. This concerns the acceptance of a one-time payment of $702,039 from the Texas Task Force on Indigent Defense in the form of an equalization distribution.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? This is, again, an effort to try to somewhat reimburse us for the Senate Bill 7 that was passed, I guess it's been almost 10 years ago now. And they were supposed, the state was saying you're going to have to increase your costs, but we're going to pay for it. They're paying for about 25 to 30%. So
Figured 10%.
well, a little bit more than that, but this is something that we've continued to try to increase, and this is an effort to, this is monies in addition to the formula grants that were distributed and the discretionary grants that we give out. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Members of the court, I'm going to skip now to item number 4 and request that the court approve a lease agreement between Tarrant County through its resource connection and MHMR of Tarrant County as it relates to space located on 1200 Circle Drive of the resource connection.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Court, we can now go to item 3. I'm going to ask Mr. Singleton to come up and present this particular item.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Judge.
Today we're asking you to make some revisions to the electronic communication system policy. That policy is the policy that governs things such as email, internet usage, and the such. We frequently are reviewing this particular policy to make sure that it meets best practices, and if there are issues that we need to either proactively or reactively address. Today there are 3 different areas of this policy that we're doing. Some of them are minor, but I'm going to mainly focus on the video conferencing and the social media aspects of the policy revisions that we're asking you to adopt. Video conferencing was a request of the IT department to, they are currently working on a project they plan on rolling out here in the next few weeks that will be a productivity tool for us to use in conducting conferences or meetings through the video conferencing system through the internet. So this is to accommodate that particular project. The social media and networking part of the policy addresses some issues that we need to address as far as being current with best practices. It also addresses some issues that we've had within the organization, some personnel issues and such. And so we've worked with the DA's office and HR to craft this wording to better manage that particular tool of social media. It also establishes the parameters in which we will establish sites such as Facebook and others under the name of Tarrant County. And I ask your approval of these revisions.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Still got your sweater right there?
Ms. Snyder?
Risk Management Board is recommending the addendum or a payment, additional payment on a claim that occurred back on May 17th.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Glenn?
Good morning.
Morning.
We have 3 items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second item, we're asking the court to approve an out-of-class pay extension for juvenile services. The court has seen this request before. This is request is made in connection with staff assignments connected to the JCMS project. This extension, if approved, will take us through October 20th, and there will be no impact to the general fund.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our third and final item, we're asking the court to approve the departmental reorg and the job evaluation committee recommendation concerning the district attorney's office. If approved, this reorg will be effective July 13th. The net fiscal impact to the general fund is approximately a $74,000 savings every year.
And this met your request, Joe? Yes, it has. Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And this does not add any FTEs. It simply
It's a
reduces. Yeah.
It's in that net.
It's not a wash. It's a
Well, it's
$74,000
savings.
savings
Yes.
every year.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Brewer? Good morning. Good morning.
We have 3 items for your approval this morning. The first one is a contract with Texas Christian University Office of Extended Education for the provision of command Spanish training, and this is for our Medical Reserve Corps volunteers.
I will move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, how many people are involved in that?
Well, we have a total at any given time of between 1,200 and 1,500 volunteers, but I'm not sure how many will be taking.
How many, you don't know how many will be involved in this?
I don't. I'll be glad to find out for you.
I just wondered.
Says on here, materials for up to 20 students.
Thank you.
I hear a bunch of advertisements over the radio about Medical Corps. Most of them are in the Dallas area, but it says like go to a website. If you go to that and you register with a Tarrant County zip code, does it come to Tarrant County or does it go to Dallas?
My understanding is it should come to Tarrant County.
Okay. The advertisement, I'd ask you to check on that because
Sure.
certainly and it's on KRLD. I hear it quite a bit. And it seems to be implying that that Dallas is trying to do it. How many volunteers do we have?
Between 1,200 and 1,500 at any given time.
How does that compare with
That's
other
very
counties?
good. We're like second in the state. I think Houston has a few more.
Okay, thank you. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The second item is to establish a change fund for the Public Health Department's breast and cervical cancer control program.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the third item is approval of interim financing for fiscal year 2012 grants. There are 4 of them. Ryan White 4 Part D, Preparedness Lab, Preparedness Base Funding, and Preparedness Community Readiness Initiative. Currently, of the interim funding that we have come before you before, we have one outstanding. However, we have received the contract in the last few days, and we will bring that to you on the 26th for approval. And I can give you more information on the 4 that we're asking for today in terms of their status. If you would you like me to do that?
I mainly would like assurance. Are these coming from the federal government, or are they coming from?
Well, they're coming by way of the state. So some of them are, like the Ryan White money is federal money, but it comes through, it comes from HHSC, and we're expecting level funding for that, and we should receive it by August 1st, is what we're being told. Our lab preparedness and our base preparedness are coming from the state, and the contracts are in process out of the contract office at the state, so we should be receiving them. We are receiving cuts in those budgets. We already know that, and we've already planned accordingly.
Are these amounts that we're referring to, the 25, 46, 175, and 60, almost 62, are they for just a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day period, or are they for
60-day.
60-day?
Yes.
And that would be 60 days, so it'd be July and August, August and September? What time frames are we talking about?
I believe it's July and August, because their grants start in September.
And if it starts in
There's
September,
all renewals have a start date of August 1.
then I guess what I'm going back to is if for whatever reason we
They're
were
on
to
a
be
different
notified
schedule.
that there was going to be additional cuts, we would stop spending money.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And again, for the lab prep, we're getting a 7.5% cut, and that contract is in process. We're getting a 16% cut for the base preparedness, and that contract is in process. And then the last one, CRI, is City Readiness Initiative, and that's for our Strategic National Stockpile. That's a 16.2% cut, and that contract is in process. And again, that's coming from the state.
Okay. We have a motion. We need a motion and a second.
Move approval.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And contracts are on a staggered basis, so that's why it's got a different timeline. Thank you.
I think the main thing is that if at any point in time we hear that the program has been cut, reduced, or whatever, we
Yes.
immediately take
Yes.
action.
And several of these, we had been told one thing and something else happened, so we had to go back and change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel.
Your Honor, other members of the court, we have 11 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-070. This is a bid for the purchase for the Tarrant County 1895 Courthouse County Clerk Interior Improvements. Recommendation would be to award a per enterprise basis, awarding certain items to Royer and Schutz and Advantage Supply.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 2 is a bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-079. This is an RFP for digital conversion of microfilm and microfiche images for the county clerk's office. Recommendation would be to award per the contract terms, selecting as our primary vendor A&I Acquisition Sub and Image Retrieval Incorporated as our secondary vendor.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 3 is a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-084. This is signing a contract for custom Coroplast boxes for elections administration. Recommendation would be to award a per enterprise basis, selecting as our vendor Plastic Fab Incorporated.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 4 is also a bid award recommendation for RFP number 2011-091. This is an RFP for our cellular, telephone, and handheld wireless voice data services and equipment. Recommendation to award per the contract terms, selecting as our primary vendor Progressive Concepts, our secondary vendor Sprint Solutions Incorporated.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah. Jack, this is another one of those bids where you give a percentage credit for all these different criteria.
Yes, sir.
And again, on this one, you have 20% for price. And I understand there's a whole lot of criteria when you're dealing with cellular phone services and things like that. But I'm just continuing to question the low amount of credit that we're giving to the price of the product that we're buying. Understanding that it all needs to meet a certain level of specifications and all that. I think item number 2 on the microfilm issue, it was 35% of the price counted 35% of the bid. I'm still questioning how you come up with these percentages and how does that, and you don't have to tell me now, but you can tell me later.
Yes, sir.
But it just seems, I have a question about how you come up with these percentages and what do you base that on? And at some point, I'd like to understand.
If you like, we could set up a meeting
Understand that
with staff and certainly go over those with you, if that's acceptable. Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 5 is another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-102. This is an annual contract for cold applied asphalt crack sealant. Recommendation would be to award the low bidder, Easy Seal LLC, on a per unit price basis.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 6 is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-105. This is a bid for the purchase of Cisco network equipment for IT. Recommendation would be toward the low bidder, INX Incorporated, the amount of $86,584.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 7, another bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-110. This is our contract for emulsions. Recommendation will be toward a per unit price basis, awarding to Ergon Asphalt Emulsions on sections 1 through 4 and P2 Emulsions on section number 5.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 8 is also a bid award recommendation for bid number 2011-112. This is our annual contract for reinforced concrete pipe. The recommendation would be toward the low bidder, Hydro Conduit of Texas, on a per unit price basis.
I'll move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 9 is a bid award recommendation for RFO number 2011-121. This is request for offer for the purchase of 13 Ford Fusions for CSCD. We are recommending utilizing the buy board contract number 358.10, awarding to Philpott Motors in the amount of $198,425.75.
I will move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Number 10 is an item in regards to our bid number 2011-090. This is an annual contract for hair testing supplies and laboratory confirmation for CSCD. We are recommending rejection of all bids and seeking permission to rebid with revised specifications.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is that a drug testing procedure?
Yes, sir. And the issue was that they were not willing to hold the sample specimens for the appropriate amount of time.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is an item in regards to our bid number 2011-097. This is our annual contract for lumber and building materials. We are again recommending rejection of all bids and asking for permission to rebid with revised specifications. The two bids that we received were incomplete. We'd like to consolidate that and go out for that solicitation again.
Were those local bids that we received?
I believe they were, sir. Both had been awarded the contract previously and just did not bid the complete sections this time.
Move approval. Second?
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Jack, before you leave, I want to congratulate you and your staff. The purchasing department has earned the 16th, I think for the 16th time, the Annual Achievement of the Excellence in Procurement Award for 2011. You've been awarded this for 14 consecutive years and have achieved a top score, or have achieved a score in the top 20% of all government agencies in the nation. And we want to congratulate you and your department for an excellent job. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
What percent of that was for pricing?
It was 20%. See, it was the 20%.
Or was it the 35%?
Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have an interlocal agreement at this time.
Mr. Reich, we good?
Yes, sir.
I move approval of items 9K1A through H.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And Commissioner Johnson.
And Ray, are we okay? Move approval of item 9K2, A through L.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today?
Yes, sir. I do have one. I would like to appoint Ms. Jenny McGarry onto the tariff board of in Arlington, TIF number 1, number 4, and number 5, as well as in Mansfield and Grand Prairie.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, the Mansfield and the Grand Prairies, are they just one, or is it?
Just one. Yes.
They're just Mansfield and Grand Prairie tests, okay. Any questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have an item to bring to you this morning that concerns county parking in downtown Fort Worth. Mr. Phillips is here to address the court at this time.
Any calls lately?
Yet. Good morning.
Morning.
The purpose of this briefing is to discuss county parking in downtown Fort Worth. Some of the discussion items will be public paid parking, employee parking, credit union parking, and parking for the new civil courts building. And that's as soon as we get this deal to work. Here we go.
That was one of the people who were supposed to be parking in the old building, and you've moved.
First, we'll talk about public paid parking. Tarrant County manages approximately 2,600 parking spaces in downtown Fort Worth, and 500 of those are for public paid parking. Currently, we accept cash and checks for public paid parking, but more and more folks are paying with credit cards and debit cards at other parking facilities in the city, the state, and the nation. We recommend, the staff recommends that Tarrant County start accepting credit and debit cards for Tarrant County facilities, parking facilities at the Plaza Lot and Calhoun Garage. The $10,000 in estimated credit card fees will be offset by the increase in the number of parkers who will favor our parking facilities because we take plastic. That break-even point will be 5. We need to increase our traffic 5 parkers a day which is a little less than 1%.
Question, Mr. Phillips. How long is our agreement with the downtown TIF district regarding the Calhoun Street garage?
Commissioner, I think that's one of my slides coming up, and I would discuss that in detail as soon as I can get my little deal here to work. Jim Duff, I think you're correct. I think he is a little miffed about the parking.
Mess with people's parking and things start going wrong.
Also, as far as public paid parking, staff recommends that we install a pay station at the plaza lot to augment the parking attendant at the plaza lot. The parking attendant's hours will be reduced from 12 hours a day to 8 hours a day. They'll still be there during peak times. Now, this pay station, what it does 3 things for us. First, it reduces our operating cost for the first year by $10,000. And if things go well, we can double that operation reduction up to $20,000 per year, each and every year. Number 2, it'll allow us to close the gate, the exit gate to the parking lot, and we think we can capture additional parking fees that we're not capturing now in the evenings and early mornings. Number 3, it solves an operational problem that we're having with the plaza lot. It will eliminate the $4 prepay in the afternoons, which will help things out tremendously. The cost of the pay station is approximately $75,000 installed.
Will it also permit us to open the lot on both ends for ingress and egress?
No, sir, it will not. We'll still do the flag man on Rutherford Street. We've talked with the City of Fort Worth traffic engineer several times. We're concerned about putting a booth. I think you're talking about coming up here on the plaza lot. Commissioner, we talked about putting a booth there, and we're concerned about the backup and queuing and stopping traffic. And it's a legitimate concern the City of Fort Worth has.
Can you describe the pay station?
Yes, sir, I can.
He doesn't want to, but he will. He's ready for you. He got a picture. Picture 1,000 words. I just want to know how many times we're going to. I want to know how many times we're going to have to break that lever when there's nobody to.
My doctor in Dallas got this.
Yeah, I know. This is kind of like a Dallas deal.
This is a photo that staff took of the pay station at the Will Rogers the Western Heritage Parking Facility that's new on Montgomery Street. The second photo is an up-close photo of the pay station. This pay station holds cash. It takes credit cards, it takes debit cards, it handles validations. It'll wash your clothes if you let it. So,
how firmly is it attached to the ground?
It will be attached firmly enough to hold a four-wheel, keep a four-wheel Chevrolet pickup from pulling it off.
I go to a doctor over in Dallas at a hospital, and they have one of these. And let me just describe to you the problems that I see that this may have versus what they have. And I think theirs is horrible, but theirs might be better than what we're suggesting. You're talking about somebody doing this from their car, and you drive up as you're going out. Isn't that what this shows?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This machine's, believe it or not, it's somewhat confusing to a lot of people. I have sat in line standing, because at our doctor's office, they have it not where you exit the garage, but they have it really on the, it's off, it's not in the car lane. It's sitting over on the side. When you go in through the parking gate, there are signs everywhere that say, take your ticket with you. Okay? So you take your ticket with you in the building, you come back out, and you pay before you go get in your car. And the advantage of that is that you're going to have people stacked up 10 deep, because it's going to take a while for people to figure this machine out. And instead of being at a pay gate for 30 seconds, you're going to see people sitting at that pay gate for a couple of minutes. Because I watch them stand at the machine as the line lines up, trying to get out. It's just, I've been doing this for a number of years at this place, and I complain every time about this type of machine, and I think if you put it in the lane, you even make it worse.
Yes, sir, Commissioner. People who don't read it are going to just stay there, and they're going to have to get out of their car and go get that ticket punched.
Well, and that's a problem, too. That is a problem.
We did listen to you last time we talked about pay stations, and I'm prepared to answer those questions. We are going to leave the parking attendant during the peak times from 8:30 in the morning to 4:30 p.m. So we don't anticipate anything to change from 8:30 in the morning to 4:30 p.m. This pay station will be there 6:30. Will be used 6:30 to 8:30 and in the mornings, and 4:30 till 6:30 or 7 in the evenings. And also, it'll still allow the gates to be down even after that. So those peak times that you mentioned, Commissioner, nothing will change from what they do today. They will not use this pay station.
But in your ultimate goal, your ultimate goal needs to be to get rid of that guy in the booth.
And we'll do that
eventually
over a period of time when everybody becomes comfortable with the pay station. Until then, we will keep our parking attendant.
In your place.
Okay.
We don't plan to disrupt business and get everybody upset. Our plan is just to hopefully reduce costs, and if we will continue to use the parking attendant during the peak times.
Well, I just hadn't run into anybody that thinks, everybody that stands trying to get their ticket validated, where I've used this, every one of them is standing there griping because of how inefficient this piece of equipment is to most people. You know.
And again, they will not have to do that during peak times of the operation of this
And
plaza
you got
lot.
people that are coming in that building, not every day, not every week, maybe once a year.
Are you just talking about this going on that plaza lot outside right now, or are you talking about putting this in all of our parking lots?
Just that one place in the plaza lot, and again, it won't be used during peak times, 8:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. Nothing changes.
So we're just going to do it long enough to catch the credit union in their extended hours?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
It does reduce costs, and we won't start committing to transition to that any more than that without court approval first.
And you might decide they want to pay for that person to be in that booth as opposed to...
Now, this brings up Commissioner Brooks' question. This is an income pro forma for the Calhoun Garage over here down the street from us. The first two bars are this year and next year. Those red portion of those bars represent the downtown Fort Worth TIF lease payments. They're approximately $400,000 a year. That expires next year. I have talked with the Downtown Fort Worth, Inc. staff who administers the TIF. They have indicated they do not plan to renew this lease, at least at this level. So we would not anticipate having those kind of dollars come to the general fund after 2012.
And that was basically to allow the lot to be a free parking lot after a certain hour?
Yes, after 6 p.m. and on weekends.
That's essentially what they were buying, but the $2 million,
$2.5
$2.5 million was to help us reclaim some of our expenses in building the garage and our contributions to the TIF. I would like to see us still make the garage available free to the general public after 6 o'clock. But I think we could go ahead and reclaim those daytime spaces and use them for our own purposes.
What daytime spaces?
The ones that are open to the public.
The one under the green?
Commissioner, currently the lease encompasses after 6 until 3 in the morning. It also encompasses weekends, free parking. We do open it up a little early for the Parade of Lights and for the Arts Festival for them to be good, friendly neighbors. During the day, we have paid public parking in the Calhoun Garage for our 250 spaces, which is the green. Now, I need to go back.
Yeah, the green.
The green.
Well, we're getting paid for that right now anyway.
Well, we could get paid for it by our own personnel.
Not sure
Now-
all personnel are paying as much.
It may not be, but it's a lot cheaper than building more parking to accommodate them.
I think that's the whole purpose that he's fixing to get into.
Yeah, I need to back up a slide. I'll try to do that here. Here we go. Now, this slide here, it builds on what Commissioner Brooks is talking about. This slide represents an increase of about $90,000 in net income to the general fund each and every year. Staff recommends that we increase the daily maximum rate from the Calhoun Garage from $8 as it is today to $10. And also, staff recommends that we adjust the interim short-term rates for the Calhoun Garage and the Plaza Garage as they're listed in the court communication to get us up to what the market is in downtown Fort Worth. And what that'll do is provide us an extra $90,000 a year, year in and year out. Now, this particular slide represents $36,000 in additional net income to the general fund for Tarrant County. The Lily Newfarmer, the president and CEO of the Tarrant County Credit Union, and their board of directors have made an offer to lease 10 parking spaces for their staff at the Plaza lot at market rate. And also, part of that package, they would like to go ahead and pay their fair share of the utility costs associated with operating their space in Tarrant County buildings. So you will see a more formal proposal from Lily and myself in a few weeks on this package.
So this just isn't the parking lot area. They're also saying that, in looking at our overall budget and looking at everything else, they're saying they're coming forward and offering to pay the utility cost of all of their space. Is that correct?
Yes, Judge. It comes as a package. It's a real generous package, and Lily and I have been working on this for a few weeks, and it seems to be a very equitable solution to us. Now, this particular slide for the Civil Courts Building future parking represents $0 of capital expenditures for providing parking for the future Civil Courts Building. We've already spent $13.5 million on the Calhoun Garage back 10 years ago, and the Calhoun Garage was built to provide parking for the Family Law Center and the new Civil Courts Building and some of the employees in the administration building. The Calhoun Garage provides 750 parking spaces. 500 of those are for employees currently, and 250 of those are for public paid parking. To prepare the new civil courts for the parking needs back in 2014, we recommend we convert the fourth floor of the Calhoun Garage from employee parking to public parking. And what that does, that provides 348 spaces, which is a 40% increase over what we have today in public parking. It provides that, and that will handle the public parking needs of both court buildings about 85% of the time. And the other 15% of the time, those visitors who can't find a space in our garage will have to go one block to the south to the Bass Garage, or they can park across the street at a surface lot, just as they do today. Currently, this does not change our mix today as far as how often our parking garage is full. Currently, it's full typically on Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings generally, sometimes on a Thursday morning, but not too often. So this will provide, will have to complete what I believe to be ample public parking when we open up the Civil Courts Building. Now, how do we transition that? Here's what I recommend we do. I think we take the employees who are currently parked on the fourth floor of the Calhoun Garage, which includes me.
How many spaces is that?
98. We take those 98 folks, and in an orderly fashion, over the next 3 years, we reassign parking assignments for them somewhere on the upper floors and other places. Our goal is to have the parking garage, the fourth floor, ready for the Civil Courts Building just a couple of months before the Civil Courts Building opens. So we've got about 3 years to do this. Next, we need to take the 80 or so employees who work in the 1895 courthouse, we need to take them and over the next 3 years in an orderly fashion, move them to the Taylor Garage, one or two at a time as we can to minimize disruption. Next, over the next 3 years, we can work through and move as many as we can of the 92 civil courts employees who will be moving east, move them to the Calhoun Garage, and minimizing the impact of the existing administration employees that currently park in the Calhoun Garage today. It'll be essentially a musical chairs. We'll be able to do that, I think, over the next 3 years in an orderly and equitable fashion without having to spend any capital dollars for new facilities or surface lots. We need to probably start working real heavily on our carpool and our alternative transportation incentives. Our currently carpool incentive in our parking policy requires 3 folks in a carpool. We may try to change that and come back to the court with something else so we can incentivize people to do more carpooling, which you don't do much of today. Now moving on to the Taylor Garage down the street on the River Bluff. Staff recommends that we convert the Taylor Garage from employee assigned parking to employee unassigned parking over the next 3 years. This will eliminate the parking employee waiting list, which is currently about 75 to 80 or so, and also it'll make the Calhoun parking garage 4th floor conversion a lot smoother. So it does a couple of things for us. And to reduce the impact of the employees who currently park in the Taylor Garage, we can do this in phases over 3 years. We can do it a floor to 2 at a time by using parking gates. We'll minimize impact. We'll first start filling up the unassigned areas with some of the volunteer spaces and other spaces that we have in that garage. And when new county employees come online, we'll start offering them unassigned spots so we can minimize the impact on current employees.
So there won't be any first come, first served type of arrangement?
Well, we'll have to work through, Commissioner, we'll have to work through it. As far as unassigned, there'll be, what we plan on doing, we're going to have some folks who are going to want to do that because it's going to be less money to them per month, about $5 a month. Then we've got some spaces that are assigned to the CSCD and Court of Appeals that they pay for. We pay monthly for. We'll start moving some of those folks, the volunteer folks, and those kind of folks up there first to minimize that impact. Then as new employees come on, we'll probably offer them the unassigned parking first. And we'll try to focus in on the current employees, try to move them around so they can have adjacent and adequate parking next to the building that they work in. That is our ultimate goal. I think we can do most of that in 3 years. It's going to be a little complicated, but I think we can do it.
It must be real complicated. How are you going to eliminate the parking waiting list and you haven't created new parking?
Well, Commissioner, what we're going to do, let me give you an example of what we're doing now. We're going to manage our parking a little different. At the Plaza Garage down the street, the one for the Plaza Garage, we currently have, there's 531 spaces in that garage. 693 employees pay to park in that garage. We don't have unassigned space. We have unassigned spaces. They're not assigned. So we essentially have oversold the garage by about 30%, and that roof is still empty. It's just how we manage it. When we have assigned spaces, we did surveys a few years ago, and we're walking through a garage, we've got all the spaces empty. They're on vacation, they're out doing work, county business, they're training, they're doing different things. Spaces are empty. When you go to that Plaza Garage down the street, the only thing that's empty is the roof. Everything below that packed up. We've maximized the utilization of that garage down the street. We recommend we do the same thing with the Taylor Garage over time, and we can add another 150 to 175 people in that Taylor Garage in a breeze.
That's in effect from what you're saying, in the Plaza Garage, you've increased it, you've oversold it by 162, and you're saying that the roof still has spaces available, so you could actually oversettle a little bit more.
We could, then the first person that calls you, then you'll quickly call me. But we have not done that. We have not. It is essentially full.
What you're proposing is to oversell a larger garage by lesser amount.
That's correct. 20% or so. Now, what's different? There's some things going on in the Plaza Garage down the street. There's some sheriff's department third shift and people, so that may make up some of the difference. But it's oversold. I don't know if we can do that with Taylor. But Taylor, we can certainly add 150 folks at a snap of a finger. And
what happens if someone who has paid for unassigned parking in that garage can't find a space in that garage?
they'll call me, but that hasn't happened yet. They'll keep going. What happens, and I've watched this, what happens, Commissioner, people come to work at the same time of day, most every day, and they eventually nest up on a certain floor and a certain area of the floor each and every day anyway. So you come to work at 7:30, you kind of get this little area of the garage. You come to work at 7 o'clock, you get another little area. You kind of just get used to certain areas. Now,
what departments are you working in?
We haven't had that condition,
but it's possible.
Yes, sir, it is possible. We've operated that Plaza Garage ever since we took control of it from Radio Shack back in 2005. We operated as unassigned parking, and I haven't received a call yet. I'll probably get one this afternoon, probably.
I will tell you that this process of overselling the garage is a standard practice in the private sector. In fact, our overselling of 25% is below what the private sector does, and it works.
Do we have signage out there telling people who to call if they don't?
No, they know who to call, sir.
You think so?
Trust me, they know who to call. We haven't had it, Commissioner, we haven't had an issue. Not that we won't. That's why we're only thinking 20% over here. We have that one that's sold at 30, thinking 20, just to kind of work it through. And even at 20, we'll have plenty of spaces. Right now, we provide about 2,000 to 2,100 employees parking spaces. And we have about 2,600 downtown. So I think once the word's out that there's available spaces and the waiting list goes away, I think they'll just start coming and trying to take advantage of that. So that'll be things we'll have to do. We do provide good quality, inexpensive parking for our employees.
Let me ask a question. I guess we've got say 100 on the waiting list right now. What is a monthly parking rate on a private lot costing in downtown right now?
I can tell you that's anywhere from $80 to $90 for a surface lot. And if it's covered, it's $120. And I checked with some of our neighbors just last week, and that's what they charge.
How much do we charge our employees on a monthly basis?
We charge for a covered spot, we charge $25.
And for a non-covered spot?
If it's out on a surface lot, if it's assigned, it's $15. And if it's in the Plaza Garage, unassigned, it's $20. So we do have different rates.
Coming downtown and parking, and they're not in one of our buildings or not on our stuff right now,
they're paying a lot of money.
about $60 a month more than they would otherwise be paying. So
yes.
if on an instance, maybe once a month, even if it was just once a month, they had to pay to park on a surface lot for a day, which again, we're not predicting what happened, we would be talking about $8 to $10 a day?
Well, currently, the parking lot down the street from our Plaza lot is $10 flat rate. There's no incremental $22.50, $3. It's $10 to park there is what they would get charged.
So potentially, if we open this thing up, then the 100 folks that we've got that are on a waiting list may be able to save $60, $50 to $60 a month beginning now.
That's correct.
And us not make our problem worse. I mean, we're expecting it that we're not going to have an issue with it. If we do it and there is an issue, then we're going to have to go back and come up with plan B.
Trust me, we're going to work in this in baby steps and make sure we don't have any issues. That's why we recommend we do it transition a floor or two at a time. And my goal is to minimize the impact on the current employees. From going from assigned and having your nest over here going to unassigned, it can be a significant emotional experience. So, so I think we transition to it over, when we have 3, that's why I'm up here now, is to deal with it now instead of when we get to start opening up. My goal is
Well,
we
that's
have...
what you say. One of us parks in Commissioner Johnson's or anybody else's space, and it comes through pretty quick, doesn't it?
We do have to move about 190 to 100 folks down the street in about 3 years. We're just preparing for that, and I think with our parking facilities we have today, we can handle it without having to build any new parking facilities. So, in the next few weeks, I'll be back up here, and I'll ask the Commissioners Court to start accepting credit and debit cards. I'll also ask you to approve a pay station, and also to approve the changes in the rates and the parking rate structure for our public paid parking. And over the next, I'll also be up here to ask you over the next 3 years to allow us to go ahead and transition some of the things I've talked about as far as existing facilities. And Lily Newfarmer and I will be up here to talk more about the credit union proposal. And that's all I have this morning.
Mr. Phillips, I hope you're right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope I am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have at this time.
Wonderful. We will now recess our open session to proceed to
of this contract with the city of Fort Worth on that city county jail.
You got
Everybody needs to go through that.
when you got about a half one, you can go ahead and.
I think we can do it in a week.
Having returned from our closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.